Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Roadish Podcast. My name's Rune Black, and today I have, as always, Armand, if you want to say hi.
Hi, people.
Oh, that was enthusiastic. Well done. Nice start.
I just woke up from a nap.
Naps are a bad idea. Naps
Oh,
are
they're a
usually
good
bad.
idea.
No, they're a
idea.
bad idea. You always wake up feeling a little bit shitty afterwards.
When you slept about for 3 hours during the night and then get a nap in, it's just the best.
I have no sympathy for you then. That's completely your own fault.
Oh, yeah, no, I agree with you. That is completely my own fault.
No, that's fine. Before we get into anything, because we started the bit of the conversation beforehand, and we'll go into it in a minute. What have you been up to? What's new? What's been going on with you?
Actually, nothing. Literally,
nothing.
No,
nothing since the last time we spoke. We spoke on the pod. Nothing's really gone on with you.
Not much, really.
Okay. This is the bit where I'm going to fill some time then. But not an awful lot's happened with me. I've been streaming a hell of a lot more. My YouTube video went up. That was cool and got posted around a little bit. So thanks to the people that did. More specifically, Lay, as a social media manager, you've been great of attempting to push my video, which I appreciate. I know you got a shout out in the last one, but you can have another one because I know you listen to this shit. I don't know why, but you do. You support us, which is great. It's amazing. I appreciate it. And to everyone else who's decided to pop along as well. Other than that, it's just been the usual, I guess. Work, streaming, attempting to be more productive. And of course, we've both been playing a bit of Tarkov here and there, haven't we?
A bit.
I mean, a bit. We're not like 4,000 hours in, but, we're trying.
Yeah. We're trying for the 4,000.
We'll try for the 4,000 hours and see how shit we are at the end of that, because it'll most likely we're not going to improve that much, are we? We're going to hide in the corner and just wait.
Yeah.
Right. So we started the conversation a little bit beforehand, and it's going to be on Andrew Tate. Okay, like we're going to go over the bands.
Of course, he's what brings everyone fame now. So why shouldn't we? Because anyone and everyone that talks about him has gotten their 15 minutes of fame, and then whoever's been able to capitalize the best will obviously they've seen growth in their channel and whatnot, and that's what we're trying to do. So slightly.
You say that. I don't want to grift and just be like, right, we're going to have this conversation because it will grow, or it will be, I don't know, appealing to other places. We're having this. Oh, go on. Sorry.
We're having this conversation because we have very different views on the matter.
I wouldn't say very different. They're not that far apart. Not really. They're not like opposite ends of the spectrum. I wouldn't say they're that far anyway. But have you seen? Have you seen? I think it's Daz's video.
No.
Okay, so it was. I haven't seen all of it, so I can't comment on it too much. But from the bits that I have seen, probably. See, this is very spur of the moment, so there's going to be a lot of stuff that I'm probably going to look up at the time, like while I'm just here and whatnot. I don't follow him because why would you do that? This is me being biased now. In your right mind, why would you properly follow this person? As I said, so no, Andrew Tate. It's not content that I typically look for. I'm not out on the internet trying to be offended, with some weird victim complex. But Daz did a video that, as far as I can see, is quite comprehensive of kind of putting together, not to say like a compilation, but to properly analyze a little bit of Andrew Tate's online presence, if you will. I'd recommend the video, even though I haven't actually seen it, just because of the clips that I have seen and the response that it's got. I wouldn't say even it's a takedown video. It's just a very kind of analytical look with maybe a little bit of bias of why this person is treated the way that they are. It's I suppose the stereotypical red pill is what people would say. And a little bit of a takedown. It takes him down a few pegs. And maybe it led towards what we were mainly going to talk about today, was the ban across quite a few big social medias. But I want you to start, because not to say I'm going to put you on the spot. Yeah, of course I want you to start.
Of course.
Of why either you like him or don't necessarily like him, or don't think he's that bad of a person.
Right. No, everyone is obviously shitting on Andrew Tate for some good reasons. You know, not all the reasons are bad. Obviously, people have their reasons, but I believe that people are too offended, especially on the internet nowadays. People just get offended about anything. If it exists, they're offended about it, and it's just not good. It's just there's no point. Like it's a man on the internet saying things. Why are you offended?
It's not.
What?
Okay, so I do agree that there are a lot of people that are out there just being victims, and will look for things to get offended over, and just try and find the things that piss them off the most, and I don't know, have some sort of attack against it to some degree. And maybe some of them are right. Most of them, I don't think, are worth the hassle. It's the same reason that I don't follow Andrew Tate, because why would I waste my time with it? Like, it's just not something that is conducive to my worldview, I guess. And within his own worldview, he might be justified, or it might be cohesive to himself. But when it comes to the general consensus of how we treat other people, have you heard of the phrase, my rights end where someone else's begins?
No, I haven't heard of that phrase.
Okay, so it was a phrase, I think it was used for quite a while ago, and I'd say it still applies. So essentially, I can do what I want until the point that it starts to affect or harm someone else's. If I'm here in my room and I'm streaming, and I'm not doing anything necessary, I'm just playing a game. Say we're just streaming Tarkov.
Yeah.
There's harmless. That it only affects me. People can come in and enjoy it if they really want to. I'm not doing anything necessarily bad, if you will. Like, we're talking morals here, say bad. If I were to start up my stream and it was horrific videos of ISIS beheading people, like, I'm putting something in front of other people that they haven't necessarily like joined into. So when I initially click on like a video that has a thumbnail or something, there's a certain expectation that people have to not be, I don't want to use the word offended, but like, I don't know, it's
offended.
No, it's not. There's another word, and I'm having a bit of a moment of trying to think of what it is. But there's a certain social expectation to not come across like grievous body harm videos, or like there's certain reasons why we don't post certain things online, whether it be against the law or this, that, and the other. There's a certain social expectation that where we go is going to be a fairly nice environment. Most people, I'd say, are quite naive, but there's a trusting element to it.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean.
I don't think that necessarily the issue is with Andrew Tate. It's with the community that he has kind of summoned together. He's managed to grow this community of people that hate other people for intrinsic value. It's in the same. I would put it in the same way of like. It might seem really obnoxious to say, but like slaves, let's say. Like, let's just do a quick comparison between
Andrew Tate fans and slaves.
No. Between the way that Andrew Tate perceives women and the way that masters would perceive slaves, in the way that they're taught to be like treated like property. They're not other human beings. They have lesser rights or no rights at all. And essentially, you can do what the fuck you want with them because you own them. And obviously, owning another human being isn't something that we consider moral anymore.
Of course.
Yeah.
Not in the Western world anyway.
Yeah, of course. It does happen around the world. I'm pretty sure that there's more slaves now than there ever has been. Which,
well, of course, because there's more people than there has ever been.
Yeah, exactly. So it's going to somewhat fall in line. But I would think, as semi-decent human beings, we want to try and reduce that as much as possible. There are other factors that play into it. You've got like economic factors and whatnot. And it depends on different people's like maybe description of what slavery could be. I work in a workplace. Am I considered a slave because I put in more effort than I get paid?
That's the thing. Are you like, what do you consider a slave? Because if you put it that way, then
I'm talking in the generic sense.
Yeah, but just think about it this way, right? The government gives you, well, they don't give you a job, but they give you to go to school, and then you're supposed to get a job, work hard until you're 60 and then get a pension and then die, right?
Yeah.
That's the ideal governmental life that everyone is supposed to have.
It's the very foundational, but yeah.
Very foundational. People in power stay in power, and then their children get to power, and that's how it works. I'm not talking about who's going to be prime minister or who's going to be the minister of health in the UK. I'm talking power. I'm talking like the top 5 richest families in the world who can put Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk together to shame with their wealth.
Yeah.
If you put it that way, we are all just slaves for them. They don't know who we are. We're just working for them to make them wealth while we're just selling our time for food and a house.
Yeah. So that's when you're getting into the weeds about like what you could describe as a slave and all of this kind of thing. And this is very much a tangent off of the main topic, but that's perfectly fine. It's the choices you make in your free time. And it might sound weird to say free time, but yeah, we all work like that because of the system that we're currently under when it comes to capitalism. Does it work 99% of the time? Yes. Does it have some flaws? Of course it does. There's a phrase called a nirvana fallacy, and it's if you were to offer up an idea, but there's an issue with it, you don't then drop the whole idea. That might be a very like simplistic way of trying to explain what this particular fallacy is. But if I came to you with an idea, but there might be a few kinks to work out, it doesn't mean you drop the whole idea. It means you try to work out the kinks. You try to figure out the issues that you have and you address those rather than, okay, let's just bin the whole system and start from scratch from nothing. It's like what we currently have is better than what we've had before. And it's working to a degree. So there are issues obviously all over the place, but we try to address the issues rather than just everyone giving in and trying something else. And yeah, you could see it as maybe we are all slaves to a certain degree. That's the kind of the point of labor. I know that I'm part of the labor force. You're now part of the labor force, as we spoke in our last podcast. The point of it is, from our perspective, we put in more time than we are paid for. But then you've got to think of the initial like capital investment. If that workplace wasn't there in the first place, would you be earning? You could say, oh, well, I'd just go somewhere else. But then that then applies to everywhere else. The person who's made the risk at the beginning by putting in the initial investment has been able to build a business to a degree that other people are able to be employed and get paid for it. So you see where I'm going with that?
I don't disagree with that. No, don't get me wrong. I don't disagree with that. You know what I disagree with? I disagree with the fact that they come and they tell us, oh, yes, you are free to do whatever you want, but are there any other ways you can survive beside their way? Yeah, sure, you could go start a farm, but then again,
in essence, no. Like, so everyone has the availability. I wouldn't say availability. Everyone has maybe the opportunity. No, that's not the right word either. I'm trying to think of the correct word there. There's a good phrase for it. So I would say that it comes down to freedoms only exist if there's someone to protect them. Like, it doesn't. A freedom inherently of itself doesn't matter. No one gives a shit. Okay, you could have the freedom to walk outside, but it's because that's protected by some, as we say, a higher power or whatnot. The idea of a freedom doesn't stand on its own. So what we choose to do in our, as I say, free time can change a person's life like a lot. Yeah, we don't have any other option. But if I were to put the option to you, what would be another way you'd go about it?
What do you mean?
So if we didn't have the system we have now, as you say, we have to work to earn money to get food and keep a roof over our heads. What other system would you prefer? Or not to say let's make some changes, because that's what we're constantly doing. I would like to think that we're a progressive society. We're not. If you were to ignore the let's try and fix the things that we've got, what other system would you implement to be like, right, this is a wholesale better system because we're not under the vice of some other person who's making us do these choices?
Well, first and foremost, the school, right. Let me start from the beginning because it's a big subject.
Yeah, of course.
The school system is making people dumber, but it's killing creativity.
You're going to have to go into that a hell of a lot more because intrinsically it's not. That's the point of it. But yeah, go on.
It's by design is not supposed to. It's not supposed to make people dumber, but it is. That's what it's doing. It's teaching you only the things they want you to know. It doesn't give you everything. It only teaches you, you should know this and this and this, and that's about it. You don't need to know anything else. When in fact you need to know a lot more than what they teach you in school. And then they keep you very tight with your choices. They don't let you go outside the bounds. You know what I mean? Like with anything really, with art is like the main point of creativity. Like, and then even that they're trying to cut it out in schools. They're trying to cut out a lot of stuff that is mostly developing other parts of our brain by simply just saying no. They're trying to keep you more reduced on the knowledge that you have, and then they're just trying to spoon feed you the knowledge that they want you to know. So then you can be a prepared worker later in life.
Yeah, of course. Because that's the system that we're under. So you want to make changes to the current system that we have. You think it should be more creative input. But what I would ask is, surely now there's more, say, YouTubers than there ever have been. Social media influencers now get paid a lot of money for being creative and making online content. That's not something that's taught in schools. What I would say is the point of a school or like an educational system is to teach you critical thinking. It's not here's the answer. It's how did you get to the answer?
Does it teach you critical thinking though? Does it?
Yeah, of course it does. By design, it does. So say, let's take maths. Like one of the basic things that I'm pretty sure is still mandatory to go through the whole of your school life. The whole point of maths is you don't just get points for the answer. You get points for your work, showing you're working. You might get the answer wrong, but you will get points or marks for showing you're working out. It's not necessarily just getting to the end goal that it's trying to teach you. It's trying to show you this is your thought process through it. And you could still be wrong, but your thought process could be dead on, and you'll still get marks for that. So intrinsically, that's what you're being marked on, is that it's not only, okay, this is your final goal. Yeah, you could see the test at the end of it being the final goal, but it's trying to teach you the critical thinking to be able to be like, I've got a mind of my own. I am able to do these things. It doesn't teach you everything like how to do your taxes, but it has to apply to so many people.
Yeah, but like how to do taxes, just honestly, this man just get an accountant. Like we live in a world where there's so many of everything. Like if you want an accountant, they're on every fence. If you want a lawyer, you just pick up. I don't know. I was going to say pick up the phone book, but no one has a phone book anymore.
Yeah, I get what you mean. You can look online and you can just do a Google search for your local area and things like that. But if anything, that's a point for me, as kind of my point, is that people have become these roles using the education that they got previously. Things like A-levels will only take you so far. Like, as a previously hiring, we've gone so far off tangent, it's unreal. But here we are, okay? This is just a chat. Deal with it. As a previously I was a hiring manager, I would ignore what people had in schools. I didn't give a shit what you had for your English grade. Can you speak to me decently in an interview? Can you talk to a customer? And have you got any previous experience? It wasn't always that way, but what I would see it as is, I don't care if you're at college. If you've done a day of volunteering at like a charity shop or some other store, I will immediately look at that as better qualifications for whatever college course that you've done. But it's because I was in a retail environment. That's not something that's taught anywhere. That's not specialized. It's, are you a people person? Like, I can't judge from a CV how sociable you are. You could be a recluse for all I know. But that's the choice that other people make, is that if they want to go into the retail world, you need to be a bit more of a people person. You need to be familiar and essentially accepting to talk to lots of people. You need to be sociable in that kind of environment. Maybe a lawyer doesn't need to be. A lawyer could probably be a dick, but really fucking good at their job at being able to put forward a case. Well, I don't know. I've never actually had an interaction with a lawyer to be able to know. But the same with, say, accountants. An accountant doesn't need to be a people person. They don't need to be sociable. They need to be fucking good with numbers and being able to like uphold certain laws that apply to them. I did law as a level in level AS, one of the two, in when I was in secondary school. Do I remember any of it? No. But did I want to apply it? Not really. It was something that filled my rota at the time because you have to fill it with certain amounts of this, that, and the other. I did more things like health and social because I wanted to be more of a people person. I did health and social care. I did citizenship, so I learned about people and the world because that was what applied to me. So I also did ICT, but I had a thing for PCs. I still kind of do. I don't apply a lot of that in what I do now, and yes, I did fall into the job that I currently have because I was trained on the job. This is so off tangent. We should probably bring it back around to Andrew Tate and how we'll loop this back around. But the main point that we're going for is obviously that the system that we currently have is able to push people like this because they have the freedom to do so. Like, he has obviously made a lot of money. Like, is he a dumb person? No. The issue that I mainly had with him is the community that he has fostered in the treating women like property, being able to, I'm going to use the word scam, but take it with a grain of salt, in the program that he set up that you could subscribe to. $50 a month, you could make, I don't know, it was like $10,000 a month or something. It was something on the type of lines.
He was saying it's a guaranteed profit. He was saying that if you invest $50 a month and you will get more than 50 back if you follow everything on there.
Yeah, so the thing I've got here is called the Hustlers University. Customers paid $49 a month to learn, supposedly, to earn $10,000 a month through crypto investing, drop shipping, and other scam adjacent activities. It's one of those that it's almost like selling a book on Amazon of how to make £1 million and selling 1 million copies of it, but the book is actually empty. Apparently, there are 127,000 members of Hustlers University, like roughly, as an estimation from online. That, and you got to think each one of those people, each person of that is spending $49 a month. So he's obviously not dumb, but it does seem scam adjacent as it's got here. Crypto investing, it's fucking luck. Like, if you want to look into that, then it's as simple as looking into GME. Like, fucking Reddit took over a stock because they noticed a big short happening and fucked over a load of hedge funds. Like, that's being in the right place at the right time. That's not knowledge. There's not, unless you've got some sort of weird inside trading, which is illegal, that you can't teach that. It's luck. Drop shipping is essentially e-commerce, spamming a load of affiliate links, hoping that other people will buy products through the links that you send them. A scam adjacent. I would say it's scam adjacent. So it's not a scam directly because those people are still making a choice kind of consciously to buy a product that you have sent them a link for or clicked on through whatever social media that you've got.
Well, then wouldn't you say anything is a scam at this point?
No, because it's not everything is a scam. You could see that there might be moral issues with certain things that you buy, like most people have an iPhone. They're made in China in probably the worst conditions where, unfortunately, there are a lot of suicides for that kind of thing. But it's the reason that manufacturing goes overseas is because if we made it, I don't want to pay £3,000 for an iPhone. Like, if we can get it made cheaply there, because that country is really good at this tech manufacturing and shipping it over here so that we can have luxury products at a lesser cost. That's how our system works. Are there issues? Of course there are. There are issues with most things. I'd rather work out the issues than drop the whole thing and pay £3,000 for an iPhone.
Well, yeah, but you gotta look at it this way. The production cost of an iPhone 13 is around £250, and they're selling you it for like what, 1,000 plus?
Yeah, makes sense.
And yeah, of course it makes sense. But then you can't go and shit on Andrew Tate for making a course where he's teaching you stuff, right? Sure, stuff that you can see online anywhere else, but it's also a network of like-minded people where you can socialize and grow your business that's
further. Fine. Yeah, you can do that, But this is why it's scam adjacent, which is why necessarily he's not teaching you any life skills. He's not teaching you anything through this. He's teaching you to essentially become part of either a pyramid scheme or a Ponzi scheme, where you are trying to convince someone else to buy something through you. You become a middleman. You aren't adding value to anything. Everything there still exists, but he's not teaching you anything specific. I think that's the main issue that I've got with this one particular take. There are others. The list can go on, but it's why he's gained the reputation that he has. You can. Okay, so this is one of the big issues that I have with the internet in general. Is that, say, 50 years ago, before the internet, if there was say an individual who really liked fucking toasters, and people probably know where I've got this like analogy from. If there was a person that really liked fucking toasters, they'd be written off as the village idiot. There's obviously some mental issue going on to some degree, because that's not the norm. It's not even, it's so far outside of the norm. That's why we would exclude them from a stereotypical society. Now, you could go online and I could probably find a community that all agree with you of fucking toasters. It doesn't make it any better. You've just found a group of people that agree with your mindset. Like, you're now in an echo chamber. You're just hearing things of reinforcement to say, yes, this should be accepted. A good example of this is also someone called. Do you know someone called Amos Yee or Amos Yee?
No.
Okay.
Never heard of him.
Again, people who I'm a follower of Destiny, if you can't tell, but this is someone who advocated for the age of consent to be removed, which immediately problematic in so many different ways.
Whoa!
At the time, yeah, exactly. So, before the internet, 50 years ago, I don't know, this person probably would have been stoned. Like, just like properly advocating for the age of consent to be completely removed is insane. It's a stupid mindset. If nothing for power dynamics, like there's a reason that contracts can't be signed until you're 18. There's a reason that like legal drugs can't be consumed until certain ages, because we have deemed that acceptable as a society. Like, we've made that age the way that it is. The same thing can be said for consent, but it's because children are unable to conceive of the impact or the negative connotations and impact that long term. Sorry. So because they're not able to do that, we deem an age appropriate where that kind of thing is okay. At the time of these conversations, a lot of people just said, well, that's disgusting, and wrote it off, which maybe is the initial thought process that you'd have. But actually, if you dug deeper into it, you might be able to talk him out of it. But more recently, he's been arrested anyway. The CP was found on his PC and all this malarkey.
Oh, Lord, of course.
Yeah, of course. But that's the kind of, it's why these laws are in place. This loops back to my rights end when someone else's begin. That person has infringed on someone else's bodily autonomy, or essentially you've caused harm to someone else, thinking that your rights extend into what someone else can do. Maybe in the future we'll have like a really big conversation about like abortion rights and things like that. Like, I don't feel like I can maybe have a viewpoint on it, but I couldn't ever like declare or make mandatory anything, because that's something that's never going to directly affect me as such. There's a bit of leeway in the language I've used there. But that, again, is a good example of my right to end when someone else's begin. I can't tell someone else what to do with their own body. It kind of makes sense. I don't want that happening to me. Like, yeah, why would I
agree with you, but like, I feel like, you know how most of America is making abortion illegal? Like, I don't believe that's right. I believe
it's legal in most places. I think it's still illegal. It's legal in most places, but illegal in a few. But that was, I think, mainly because of the rise of Donald Trump. But yeah, I get what you mean. Go on. Sorry, I interrupted.
No, because I believe that abortion should be legal, as all females should have the right to choose what's going on with their body. Yeah, I don't think it should just be like, oh yeah, you got pregnant, now you gotta have it. You know,
yeah.
Like, if not think about the woman, think about that baby, and think about maybe the financial problems that he's going to encounter during his life, being born in maybe a poor family, maybe a family that doesn't love him. Imagine the problems that child's going to have throughout his life because of his either childhood trauma, or he might not even make it out alive of his childhood.
Yeah, of course. There are loads of issues in that, but exactly what you've just said is in direct opposition of Andrew Tate's take on it. Is that women are property? They should do what the men would do what the man says, man of the household, the husband. In that they can be controlled. So half of the population should be under the whim of the other half of the population, because I don't even know what the reasoning is, if I'm totally honest. It's just his mindset and his worldview on things. I've got one article here that names him as the king of toxic masculinity. I'm not a fan of that phrase in itself. There are some things that are reasonably shitty that people don't recognize. But having that mindset means that you remove the rights of half the population because it's your worldview on it, which I think steps into that area of my rights end when someone else's begins.
Oh, 1 second. What do you think of toxic masculinity? Like, when you hear that, what's the first thought that comes to your head?
The first word that comes to my head is inequality. It's an odd one. It's an odd route to go down. I'd have to properly mind map out all of the aspects that I associate it with, and everyone's going to associate it with slightly differently. When people I on my stream, for anyone who's been about, or I've probably said to you a few times, I'll make the joke, men are disgusting. More often than not, we're kind of rank. We'll make some shitty decisions, but we are also very, I would say, as a generalization, simple-minded. We're very plain in the way that we speak about things. We can maybe hold 2 or 3 thought processes at a time at a push. We are just very simplistic. We're easy to please. We don't require an awful lot to just be content in what's happening. There probably are a lot of women that are a lot of the same. I know quite a few of them who are quite content in just doing their own thing, and that's perfectly fine. But when it comes to toxic masculinity, I feel like it's mainly now just being taken over by a Twitter feminist, which is, if I hate men enough, they'll be on the same level as me, rather than let's raise the bar for women. Not raise the bar, raise the level of women so that they reach the bar of men as they're perceived in a stereotypical society. Shitting on other people to try and make yourself feel good doesn't accomplish anything. And that seems to be the way that it is now perceived. I don't know if that was cohesive enough to be understanding.
It made sense.
What do you think of it? When someone says to you toxic masculinity, what pops into your mind?
Bullshit. It's toxic masculinity is bullshit. They're trying to make you more of a female than ever, so they can have full control over you.
When you say they, what do you mean by they? You're not talking about the Jewish question or something, are you?
Now, what is that? If you don't mind me asking.
The Jewish question is a neo-Nazi-esque, far right kind of ideology that Jews run the world because they have power and influence in every line of government all over the world, regardless of what country. And the whole world is controlled by one family or 2 families that are made up of a load of Jews. Or any conspiracy theory is usually backed by the Jewish question of okay, who was in charge? Is it a Jew? It's regardless of whether it was. It's just become a bit of a meme.
I don't know. I don't think Jews are in charge of the world, but I do think that there are a few families who control most of the Earth's resources and therefore control the whole planet as a whole and have access to more knowledge and power than anything else.
Well, yeah, there will be to some degree. The buck stops with someone, but there's too many checks and balances. This is why I hate when people use the phrase "oh, the government is doing this thing." It's that doesn't make sense.
The governments are weak. The governments, they don't control you as much as you think they are. The governments aren't. They're really there. They're really there as a facade, more than anything.
I wouldn't say they're a facade. They are definitely this is why I don't like the phrase "the government." There are so many branches of the government with so many different checks and balances, but I like how when people use the government, this, that, the other, XYZ have done this thing. I wouldn't say they're incompetent, but like Boris Johnson can't keep a fucking, like, when he was prime minister, he couldn't keep a Zoom call private. Like, it was leaked and there was like 6 people in the call. It's like, they're not to say they're dumb, and because they're obviously not. They've got to the places that they have done through reasonably smart means. Some of them, would have been just brought into it by family. That's typically how it is. It's going to be kind of circle jerky. But the thing that they are constantly the most powerful and at the same time the weakest is, it makes my head cringe, if I'm honest. My brain just doesn't comprehend it properly. But anyway, to loop back round, this is why I say that Andrew Tate isn't dumb. He obviously isn't dumb. Like, he's aware of what he's saying. He's very well spoken. As far as I know, he's half American, half English, so he has ties to both. I would say he has full understanding of what he's doing in terms of like this hustlers university that he runs, or like the words that he says online. Like, it's obviously meant to, it's almost like a shock value, but it's also his worldview.
Oh no, he says he acknowledges everything that he says, and he knows that everything that he says and the point of it. Never even once did he say, "Oh yeah, I'm saying this, but I actually don't mean it," or "I don't know what I'm saying." He obviously is fully conscious of what he's saying and what he's doing. Why he's doing it? He said, he said, "I'm doing this for fun," because as he
said, a grifter though.
No. As he said, "I have achieved everything. I have nothing else to do but have fun." So now he's doing this.
Yeah, it does seem like maybe it's a slight against how reactive online has become, which is fine. If people want to spend their time doing that and they want to spend their time being attacked over things that they found because they're going out of their way to find it, then I guess power be with them. I don't have to care about that. A lot of people will. That's perfectly fine. I think some of that is a little bit of a cope. I think to some degree, he may be saying that because if the backlash he's now got is all of his power, it wasn't based in the real world, if you will. It was based online. It was a front that he wasn't acting. That his power came from the influence that he had online. That has now been removed from him. And I know that some people make the excuse of, oh well, it's big tech. Big tech have, like, they don't fall under free speech laws. Like, that's the government not infringing on your right to say something. That's private companies going, we don't want this kind of language. We can tell you to fuck off if we want because we own this, like any other place. It's like another place of work. So I think there's a slight cope that he's now saying, well, I'm just having fun with all of this and I'm able to do this, that, and the other because his power's been removed. Maybe if he's reinstated, he would come back and he would be completely different.
Maybe he would.
Yeah, not to say we would never know. Is it possible he comes back? I'm not too sure.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll have like side accounts. Maybe in the same way that Donald Trump did it. He made his own website. Fair enough if you want to go and do that. It'll be interesting to see how it comes out. I'm just having a look through now. I'm just going to see. So this is the one that I have here is the why he was. I say why. I don't think they've ever given you a reason specifically of why you get banned from something, but this one is from YouTube. For violating its policies, former kickboxer, blah blah blah, gained notoriety with Twitter banning him for saying that women should bear responsibility for being sexually assaulted. So Twitter are probably within their right to ban that person, or ban him for saying that.
With that, I don't agree.
With what?
With women should be bearing responsibility for them being sexually assaulted.
Well, that's why he was banned from Twitter for saying what he said, that women should bear responsibility for being sexually assaulted. That's why he was banned from Twitter.
Makes sense.
So Google's small part of their statement that they told the BBC, which is where I'm getting this particular one from, but I have about 7 or 8 tabs open at the moment. We terminated channels associated with Andrew Tate for multiple violations of our community guidelines and terms of service, including our hate speech policy. The next quote is, if a channel is terminated, the uploader is unable to use, own, or create any other YouTube channels. And then it just goes on to say that his YouTube channels have more than 1 million followers between them. So he's got a few YouTube channels. So I'm guessing they were probably all banned. I'd have to properly check into that. This is why I say that they don't necessarily give you a specific reason, or like, oh, it was this video at this timestamp is the reason you were banned. It was like, no, you violations of community guidelines and terms of service. They said including our hate speech policy. I'm guessing he's had some remark that has, I guess, not to say pissed off the wrong people. It's breached the guidelines, and it could be seen as like hateful speech towards another group of people. Like if you're just like this type of thing that we're having now, we're just doing like an analysis. We're not shitting on him for the sake of shitting on him because we think he's a bit of a dick, although I do. And we're not telling anyone to go and do anything. Like we're not inciting some sort of, I don't want to say inciting violence because that could be seen as something. I don't care about any of that. That's not something that we're doing. We're just analyzing why he's been banned through his own language, and we're having an opinion on that language that he has used in the same way that YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and I think Instagram have as well. Yeah, because if it's Facebook, then it would be the same. I got the next one here from TikTok. Has also banned the account belonging to Mr. Tate as an ongoing investigation to remove content that violates its policies. I'm very surprised that they're even doing something about that.
That's going to be very hard to be done because he's all over TikTok. There are like thousands of accounts.
I think if people have reposted his viewpoint, as in it's just from him, most likely I think there'll be maybe some sort of penalty for it, because typically speaking, I know coming from the Twitch background anyway, if you were to stream with another streamer who has been banned on Twitch and hasn't had their channel reinstated, you can get banned for that because you're platforming someone that they've decided doesn't belong on the platform. So I don't know if there'll be issues on that side of things. A TikTok spokesperson has said misogyny is a hateful ideology that is not tolerated on TikTok. I'm finding that surprising because I see a lot of shit on TikTok that kind of goes along that quote, but I mean, they can only do so much, can't they? Apparently, they've been removing violating volative videos and accounts for weeks, and we welcome the news that other platforms are also taking action against this individual. Instagram has been banned as well. For violating its policies on dangerous organizations and individuals, but did not provide further details. Again, going back to why, but they don't necessarily say why exactly. I suppose the question that I want to ask, is there anything that you like about him?
Yes.
Okay, go for it.
Now, in this world where all men are being told that they're like all manly men are being told, oh yeah, that's toxic masculinity, you have to be more like this and like this and like this and like this. He came along and he said, no, be a man, take on your role as a man to provide and protect, to do your job as a man, as we have been doing for thousands of years in our evolution and in how everything was for a long, long time, until modern day feminism has came, and they're all like, "Oh yeah, you're very toxic. You're a very toxic masculine guy. You shouldn't be like this and like that because that's toxic." And I don't agree with modern day feminism. I don't think it's feminism anymore. I think it's just man haters all over the place.
Yeah, I believe it's called the third wave. But what I would want to ask in that sense is, do you recognize that this is mainly based at like people who live terminally online? Like the people that this directly affects. This isn't how the rest of the world. If I were to talk to my landlady, she probably doesn't even know who the fuck this guy is. Like, just a normal human being getting on with their life. Do you recognize that this is mainly just an online thing?
What is mainly just an online thing?
The whole mindset and like going against the third wave feminism and like this whole be a man, do your role kind of like big push against the feminism. This is mainly an online thing.
Yeah, the big push towards feminism, that's just an online thing. But that's the problem. Too many people live online and they do as they see online. They live as they see online. And that's why it became such a big problem.
Yeah, but it's not become a problem in the real world. There are other issues that people would rather, I say, in the real world. I hope that you get what I mean, common parlance and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
The majority of people, I would say the majority, so a minority of people live like they do online. Like if you were to look at the trans community online, it's kind of toxic, kind of a bit shitty, because they will happily exclude anyone who doesn't specifically fit their mindset. But that's not how the majority of trans people in the real world think. It's just that small minority online that are kind of a bit. I don't want to use the word extremist, but they kind of are. They have their little circles, and if you don't agree with their specific thing, then they kick you out. Whereas they're meant to be inclusive. So all of this, I would say, is very much online. But then following from that is the other quote that you had, or the other thing that you just said, is like, do you think that when you say the phrase "be a man," do you think that's changing?
What do you like? The being of a man, is that changing, or
No,
what?
you said like be a man, take up the role or responsibilities of a man. Like, do you reckon that's changing?
Yeah, I feel like the responsibilities of a male in today's society are really, really, really changing.
Okay.
Because
What's the
now,
issue with that?
because right now, right back in the day, uh, people were like, women stay home, take care of the children,
Mm-hmm.
provide for the husband, and then the man goes and provides for the family, with
Breadwinner.
money. Yeah, breadwinner, basically. Yeah, and then he protects and provides for his woman and his children, and he's the man of the house.
Mm-hmm.
Now is like, oh yeah, women are supposed to be independent, women are supposed to do everything on their own and all this. But then women are like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be with you, but what do you bring to the table?
Yeah, of course.
But no. All right. And then women are like, oh yeah, but I'm so independent. I don't need you as a man. We don't need the men. We don't need this and that and that, the other. And then when they go together with men, it's like, what do you bring to the table?
Yeah,
And
I'm not seeing an issue.
I sit and think, what do you bring to the table?
Yeah, it should be both sides.
Yeah, but
It shouldn't.
that's the thing. That's the thing. Feminists nowadays, they're just like, oh yeah, we exist, and men provide men. We hate men and everything they stand for,
Yeah,
but
I'm ignoring that bit because that bit I agree with you is like just men hating isn't conducive to anything. We're not forwarding anything. Nothing's being progressed on. Like it's essentially trying to like bully someone into being on the same level. It's like, well, this isn't going to work. That's not how you approach real life conversations. Like, we'll have this conversation and we'll carry on playing games and whatnot. I have no issue because if I was just like, well, you're a piece of shit and hung up, like it doesn't forward anything. We'll have a back and forth and whatnot. But that's what I'm saying. With all that you've just said, I would expect, like, personally, for me, I don't know how much you'd fall on it. If I was going to be with someone, I would want them to bring something to the table. I want the other person to be strong and independent. I don't want to babysit them. I don't want to have that much control over someone's life that I have to give them instructions on how to fucking breathe. Like,
oh yeah, no. Don't get me wrong. Yes, I agree with you in that sense. But women don't right. Nowadays, women don't really do much. And I'm not talking about all women. I'm talking about the hardcore feminists out there. The ones that
yeah,
are like
which are a minority. That
crazy hypocritical about everything they do and say, and they're not. They're becoming less of a minority by the day. If you think about it,
I don't
and
think
that's
they ever. I don't think there'll ever be a majority that will be as two people that identify as men that will be in a place that becomes an issue. Yeah, we'll see it online and people will continue to have conversations about it, which I think they should, because we could have a conversation about literally almost anything unless you just agree with each other and go, yep, cool, I agree, bye. And then that's it, end of. Like, well, great, we haven't moved forward in any way. I'm not seeing an issue with women standing and being able to say, even if it's alongside other women, and saying, "Yeah, actually, I'm a strong, independent woman. I earn for myself. I have my own bank account. Thank you." Like being able to fight for the vote because they're also just human beings.
oh, I don't have a problem with them being independent. I have a problem with them coming to men and being like, "Oh yeah, I'm so independent, but now I'm going to depend on you." and being like, "Oh yeah, what do you bring to the table?" Because because most people that's how they see it. It's like, "Oh yeah, I make my own money." That he doesn't see any cent of it, and then he makes his money, which I see 80% of, and I keep. That's what I have a problem with, because
I don't think that happens as much as you think it does. There is going to be a very small minority of people that are going to be housewives. Maybe they're happy doing that. Maybe their husbands are happy to provide that kind of life for someone else. I don't think it's even feasible in today's economy. Memes.
What economy? It's went to shit.
Exactly. It's just not feasible for the majority of people to be able to do things on their own. The other person is going to have to provide, regardless of who that other person is. There's going to have to be some sort of give and take. Like, most relationships are based on a lot of communication and a little bit of compromise. You're going to compromise on maybe some values you've got, which I'm not particularly a fan of. But if I was to be with someone for a long period of time, I would want them to be working, to be independent, have their own hobbies. I'm
not against that. I'm against when one come like, "Oh yeah, we are independent and we make our own money and our own living, but then we also want 80% of what you have, and you're not seeing anything of what we have just because we can."
I don't think that's happening though. I'd have to see something to see that, like, even I would excuse me. I'd go out on a limb and say it's probably less than 5% of women as a population live that kind of lifestyle. Whereas, the guy, he earns X amount more money than I do, so I see 80% of his income. I just don't think that's happening. I'd have to see something to reinforce it.
5% of people is still a lot of people.
It's a lot of people. I care more about the 95%. The 5, it might sound like reductionist because, like, less than 1% of the population are trans and they have their own issues. Yeah, it's maybe seen as a slightly weird comparison. I wouldn't say I'm part of that community, so yeah, maybe I can just say, like, I'm an ally. You should be able to do what everyone else is able to do to a certain degree, and we should be on a level playing field. In the same way, I don't like Jordan Peterson because he's a false intellect, but there we are. But his mindset on everyone should, in terms of equality, everyone should have equal opportunity, not equal outcome. So, like you saying about school, it should be mandatory to go to school because it teaches the thought process. There shouldn't be anyone who should be able to, like, dodge the system and not pay taxes, say, Jimmy Carr, cough cough. But it's
Wait,
the way
really?
that well, yeah, Jimmy Carr dodged his taxes for years and then he had to pay it all back. So, and now he makes jokes about it. So I feel like I can do the same. So yeah, I don't think people should be able to dodge the system like that. What I was gonna say is, I don't know if there was a miscommunication between what we said there. Is you were saying, "Oh, I should take, like, the woman should take 80% of the income from the man." Were you under the assumption in that mindset, which is totally fine? I might be just miscommunication things. Did you think that the woman would stop working at that point and stop being independent when they get with a man that they then just take 80% as an
No,
lead?
no. That's not what I said.
Okay. No, that's fine. I just thought it was a miscommunication thing.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
I said that they keep working, they keep making money, and they still want 80% of the man's income without actually bringing anything.
Okay. Well, as I say, I'd have to see something that, like, would maybe back that up, and it might be just the women that you're interacting with.
Might be the wrong woman.
Maybe so, because I definitely say, without going into numbers and whatnot, I know that I'm a bit older than you, and the type of women that I will have an interaction with will be intellectual, standing on their own 2 feet. I don't have to tell them how to breathe or that one foot in front of the other makes them move somewhere in the world. But it might just be an age thing, which is perfectly fine. As you grow up, people do grow up. Even like swiping through Tinder, people will see it as an accomplishment, or like people will show it as an accomplishment and portray that they own a home. That's amazing. Like, well done that you've done that on your own, because that's fucking hard. Like, it's a big accomplishment. You should be proud of it. I don't think that the majority of women are asking for 80% of a man's income. Maybe there are men out there, there probably are, that are happy to do that and be like, you know what, I'm going to treat you. I'm going to be that person on the other side that is I'm going to provide this money for you. But they also have every right to be like, no, I don't want to be with a woman that's going to take a load of my income, and they're going to continue working because you're providing what you think is nothing. They could be a hope, like they could be a housewife. That's also fine. If two people meet and they're happy with that setup that is traditional and is the nuclear family, as the Americans say, fine. You go and do your thing because that only pervades to you or is applicable to you, should I say? But there's no reason that you should impede that, or you should like push that onto other people. Which is why, again, back around to Andrew Tate, it was so problematic in that pushing your mindset onto this many other people, you've made a community of toaster fuckers, is what you've done.
I guess in a way he has. In a way he has.
In a way, in a roundabout way, he's made a group of toaster fuckers that at one point would have been socially accepted, even like to move away from the toaster fucking analogy, in that at some point in history they would have been accepted as people that, like, yeah, they want the nuclear family, they want to be the breadwinner, the housewife is going to stay at home with 2.5 kids. Fine, like that
is
was
the half the toaster.
It might be the toaster. I think that was like the ideal nuclear family, was like one woman, one wife, 2.5 kids, like population rate, blah 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 blah. It all goes down into a weird rabbit hole.
Yeah.
So yeah, like being able to like bring together a community of essentially people that are hating half the population because of bad experiences they had in the background in their own lives, and in their personal lives, just isn't conducive for the rest of us. It doesn't help anything. Like, all we've done is we've held down half the population, say, no, you're going to shut the fuck up and do what we say. It's like, well, why? If they're doing better, as if women are doing better, everyone does better.
Oh yeah, no, I agree with this. If one group does better, then everyone does better. Because I was watching this TikTok last night, and it was like, I own a retail store, and if I raise my wages, then it switch over to the workers, and it's like, oh, if he raise my wages, then I can go out then I can for meals out. And then it switched over to the restaurant worker, and I was like, oh, because we have more customers, we can upgrade our restaurant. And then it was. And then I switched to the laborers, and it's like, oh, because we have more work, we can hire more people. And I switched over and said, oh, because I'm getting hired, I can afford to buy a new couch. And it's like, and then I switched back to the main manager, and it's like, because I raise my wages, I get more customers.
Yeah. So in a roundabout way, that is it. It's I believe the phrase is called zero sum game. It's not one thing leads to one thing, end of chain. It's this leads to this, leads to this, leads to this, and it's conducive to that. If just imagine in a hypothetical world, half the workforce leave.
Yeah.
Because they're all the women that just go home. Or they have to stay at home because the men have to work. How fucked is the rest of the world because of that?
If half the workforce leaves.
If you were to just imagine a hypothetical world, half the workforce leave tomorrow. Just don't turn up to work. They're not allowed to work anymore because the men say so.
Also, some industries would obviously be more affected than others.
Yeah, of course. As a generalization.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a good day.
Yeah. It wouldn't be good. Yeah. Okay. Right. Well, we're coming up to a.
It wouldn't. You can't tell me it would be a good day. You can't tell me it would be an amazing day.
It'd be awful. I wouldn't be able to get in any fucking components, which is the issue that we've been having at work all week. Literally one of the buildings. One of the buildings that we have would be completely shut down.
Oh well.
God. Yeah. Oh well. And we would all be fucked because then parts wouldn't come in. Electronics wouldn't be built. They wouldn't be sold to customers. I wouldn't get paid. I would be fucked. So yeah, it would. It's a chain of events that is just shit. So yeah, him being Andrew Tate being banned for hateful speech is a little bit wishy-washy, but they do also have the power to be able to do that. Maybe by next week's episode, I'll actually watch through his final video, which I seriously doubt is going to be. He'll end up probably making his own social media or something.
Yeah, he probably would. He has the power to. He definitely has the resources to.
Or he'll give up halfway through and realize that actually there's quite a few laws that you have to follow and regulations, because if people start posting their own shit on his social media, like a load of CP or something, then you're going to have some issues.
Oh yeah, obviously. So, right. One last thing before we end this pod. The internet has been awfully censored in the past years, to the point where you can't really say anything anymore because it will offend somebody, and it's not very nice.
No, that's fine. You can be offended. People are perfectly fine with the act itself of offending someone. It's whether you're provoking an audience to do real life harm.
No, but I agree with that. But that's the thing. You see something offensive, right? I'm not talking about racism or stuff like that. Obviously, that's bad. But if you see something offensive, if it's about gay people or women or feminism or anything about on YouTube, you're getting demonetized.
Yeah, of course, because it's not advertiser friendly. Why would they want to have ads alongside something that's just shitting on other people for something inherent?
You're getting demonetized, and then you're getting striked, and your channel's getting closed.
Yeah, of course, because they're a private company and they're allowed to do that. This is literally the far right thing of make your own social media. Like, if you want to post that kind of stuff, find somewhere else to do it. This is along the same lines as the whole free speech thing. It's like, I have free speech. It's like, not on social media. No, you don't. The government can't step in because you have free speech to do that kind of thing, depending on the anti-hate laws that you have for your country. So a good example of this is, I'm disagreeing with you again, by the way. Just, I want to highlight that bit. Only because literally the other day, a big documentary came out for the conspiracy theory behind 9/11. That's not being censored. It's being reposted on the CIA website. Like, that's how big of a thing. That's not a censorship. That's just analyzing some stuff that some people have found. Like, again, it goes back to the toaster fucker analogy. I could find a community of toaster fuckers online. You're not being censored because you said a shitty thing. You just said a shitty thing, and you should recognize that it's a shitty thing because you're taking the piss or angering a group of people for something inherent. If again, you highlighted it really well. We're not talking about like racism. If you take the piss out of someone, or I don't want to keep using the same phrase of shitting on someone, but I'm going to use it anyway. If you're shitting on someone for being gay, that's inherent. They don't have any control over that. In the same way that you don't have any control over being a male. Like, you can
yes, I do.
You can change your gender, but not your sex. Your sex will unfortunately remain, but gender is something that's constructed. But it also means it has utility. The only reason that we construct anything is because it has utility. Language is constructed. It doesn't mean we get rid of all of it. It has a utility that we're able to communicate with each other. Anyway, just before we do go, this has been a tangent of all over the place. If anyone at all that listens to this wants to have a conversation about any of the parts that we've gone over, talk to either one of us about it being wrong, all of our social links are in the description below. Anyone is welcome to pop along to my stream, or at some point in the future, I'm guessing just message one of us and have a conversation about anything that we've gone over, maybe slightly more in depth than the massive tangents that we have. This is how our conversations go. It's a podcast. Fucking live with it, okay? But it's been fun, and it's good to explore these kind of things from time to time, just to have a chat and all that kind of thing. So yeah, we massively appreciate everyone who's taken the time to subscribe and listen along. As I said, all the social links are in the description for both me and Armand. Is there any closing thoughts that you want to go out on? I'm not even going to respond to them. I'll just say bye afterwards.
This has been a shit show.
It's always a shit show. It doesn't matter because it's fun. Anyway.
Yes.
Until next week.
Bye.